All right, so good afternoon once more, and welcome to our website design class. Today, our focus is on connect hardware peripherals, and as was mentioned earlier, yesterday we did look at hardware and we did look at peripherals as well. So my question, or was I asked just now, if you can share your understanding of hardware as well as peripheral based on what was done yesterday. Anyone wish to share on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
So hardware are the physical devices or tangible devices that makes up the computer, and the peripherals are the devices that are connected to the computer that allows us to communicate to the computer to
Yes.
either input or output information.
Precisely, exactly. Like you said, the hardware is basically the tangible part of the computer, the part that we can see and we can touch. And as you mentioned, that the peripheral, those are the devices you plug onto the computer, like your keyboard, your mouse, your scanner, and all of those. Once they are plugged onto the system unit, they are considered as peripherals or peripheral devices, and they generally just help you, the user, or help the computer to be more effective in carrying out specific tasks. Now, beneath that, we have for the first element, one, we have confirm requirement of client, and I want you to consider yourself, you're working in the IT industry and you are working with clients, and even as a web developer you will have clients that you're working for. But in this section we are speaking of confirm client requirement as it relates to hardware and the various peripherals. So if you, let's say you are called to a particular establishment and they want office settings, you would need to ask question to basically identify the various peripherals that will be needed based on the type of job that will be done or duties that will be carried out in that specific office. So that's why you see identify and confirm client's peripheral requirements. So let's say you are given a job to fit a office, right? As it relates to various types of devices. What are some of the devices you think that you will normally find in an office?
You would find you'd find a personal computer,
Yes.
which is scanner,
Mm-hmm.
printer,
Okay.
um,
But so generally you will basically find those in the office. So therefore you would need to ask your client as it relates to what type of duty is expected to be carried out in that particular office, and what are the type of equipment they would need in order to carry out those functions. And by you having an understanding or gathering information from your client, you can also make recommendation as it relates to what could be added to the office to make the duties that is being carried out more effectively. All right. So that is what it speaks of when you say to identify and confirm. And confirm here is very critical, because not because you realize that okay, this office would need a fax machine. You go ahead and you get the fax machine, bring to the office when you're fitting it, and you did not confirm it with the client to say okay, well, do you want a fax machine? So it's a case where you need to not only identify the peripheral that is needed, but also not only identify them, but also confirm with the client before you will basically go ahead and make recommendation to get those equipment. Because it might be a case if you go ahead and get equipment and it's not needed. So therefore, basically, money is being wasted at that time. Right? And here they say that hardware may include information technology equipment of all types. So when we speak about hardware, we speak about every sort of computer related or information technology related equipment that will make an office that will make the office or establishment function better. And we have several here. We even have server, network card, we have switch, we have hub, router, all of those. That talk about file, file and printer server. So all of those are types of equipment that would be needed in an establishment or in a business place that is dealing with information technology. So those are what you would need. And I am just going to make clear as well that these here that you're seeing here, it doesn't tie down to those only because on a daily basis technology changes rapidly. So therefore, it might be a case that you're seeing we have switches here, and probably the next 2 years time they have something using different in terms of instead of using switch. Okay, so it's always good to keep abreast of the change in technology and the various devices that are being used. And here once more, we come across the term peripherals again, and we speak about their auxiliary devices, such as your printer, your modem, or storage system that works in conjunction with a computer. All right, and that was mentioned, that was made clear by Descartes earlier, and I give further explanation as to what they are talking about. So if you're asked to basically list some peripheral devices, they're talking about your printers, your modem, your keyboard, your scanners, and they talk about storage system. So we have storage systems such as hard drive. Where would you normally find the hard drive? By the way, before even going any further, where would you normally find a hard drive?
Inside the computer.
Inside the computer. So why are they making mention of storage system here and tying it to peripheral? Why? And we did establish that it is what is basically plugged on to the system, such as mouse and printers and scanners and so on. So why would they make mention of storage system right here?
But it could be because it is removable, or it's because they have portable storage devices like external hard drives.
Exactly, exactly. That is what I am actually looking for. Because not because we know that guess what? The computer have a hard drive and the hard drive is inside the computer. There's also what we call external hard drive. Good? It's the same hard drive like what is inside of the computer, but it is one that is plugged into your USB port that you can store things on externally, thus external hard drive. So that is why it is mentioned right there. All right, and just to make a bit clearer as well, I did mention peripheral and say there's a wide range of peripherals. We did speak about keyboard already. We did speak about the monitor is one because the monitor is plugged onto the system unit. And by the way, the system unit, I know you might know what it is, but just to make it clear and to reinforce, when we speak about the system unit, we speak about that box case that is normally fitted beside the monitor, or in some instances, the monitor sits on top of it. That is what we call the system unit. And you realize that every single thing that you are seeing here would be normally connected or plugged into the system unit, such as your keyboard, your mouse, your scanner, your sound card, all of those is normally plugged into your system unit. And we even have what we call Bluetooth device, because when we speak about Bluetooth, even though those devices are not physically plug on to the computer, they are attached to the computer, but they would use a Bluetooth technology. And from time to time, we would see the term, or see the acronym, sorry, USB. So now we're seeing that USB stands for what?
Universal Serial Bus.
Good. That is what the acronym USB stands for. And we have modems and we also have printers. When you hear the term modem, what comes to mind automatically?
Routers for internet.
Routers. Good. Router are, in most cases, we say, okay, when you hear a modem, okay, we think about internet, don't it? Good. Because the modem is the device that basically helps to give the connection of internet service to your PC or various other devices. All right, and now you're seeing we have some checkpoints here, but some of these questions are basically posed in the discussion on Schoology as well. But let's look at the second one. Can you distinguish the difference between input and output devices? We did look at that yesterday as well, but for reinforcement, can you quickly distinguish between those, please? Quickly, input and output devices.
Input devices are used to enter information or data into the computer, and output devices are used to get information or data out of the computer.
Okay, but guess what happened now? I am used to computer and I use the devices, but I don't understand in terms of what you are saying when you say get devices get information into the computer and out of the computer. So to help me understand, can you give me an example of input device as well as an example of output device?
And input examples of input devices are keyboard, microphone, webcam. Output devices would be like speaker and monitor, printer.
Okay. All right. Okay. No, I have a better understanding of it then. So I guess I am able to distinguish for myself now. Thank you very much. However, just to furnish a little bit more, you mentioned you give me some output devices, speaker, right? You give me printer, you give me monitor. Good. But I come across a term or two terms some time ago that is related to output, and they say that one is hard copy output and one is called soft copy output. Which of those devices would you do you think or would give soft copy output and which would give hard copy output?
Hard copy output would be the printer, and the
Why?
soft copy because it gives you a tangible, it gives your data in tangible form.
Oh, okay. So you're saying when information comes out of the printer and a paper, it is
It's,
hard copy.
yeah, it's given in a tangible
Okay.
form.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And the soft copy would be like this. The speaker would give you all soft copies because you get the data in. You can't touch or see the data. You can't
Okay.
touch the data, but you know that it exists. You can hear it.
Okay.
And the
And
monitor,
so okay, yes, and the monitor.
yeah, the monitor, you can only see the data, but you can't actually physically touch it.
Okay. All right. Good. Good. All right. Very good. So moving on now, we are looking at we're there looking at document client requirements and peripheral needed and report and clear with the supervisor. What do you think that is all about? What do you think he's talking about?
Um, Document the requirements of the client. So you'd get a probably a list of requirements from the client and the peripherals that is needed. and
Okay.
report and clear with the supervisor. And then you would get you bring it forward to the supervisor and have it confirmed. Something like that. I'm not sure.
Yes, yes, that's exactly. So simple. Let's say that I am you're a client of mine, and you would have certain requirement as it relates to the peripheral devices that you would need. So I should document your need, or the various peripheral that you need, and I would have basically identified with you and confirm it with you. Good. And after which now I am going to move to my supervisor, where I'm going to report the information that I would have gathered from you as is related to what you the profile that you need and what you confirm with me. I would take it to my supervisor, or in a report form for my supervisor to basically clear that information. All right. So that is the channel that you would basically go through as it relates to identifying and confirming your client's need, and why they even make mention of document, and you see the other word report is a case that you don't want you to just go and you talk to the client, and you listen to what the client is saying, and then you move on to your supervisor and say, okay, Mr. John Brown said that he need a printer, he need a monitor, and and a keyboard. And because you did not document, because you did not write it down, you actually forget to share, or provide your supervisor with the critical detail, because there could have been other devices that was mentioned. So it's best for you to document, write it down what your client is saying, and it's even good as well to, after you write the necessary devices, ensure that you could ask the client to sign to it as well. So if there should be anything in the future, or in basically completing the job, it wouldn't be a case to say, okay, well, you were negligent in basically making the proper documentation, because the client would have basically signed to what you have documented and so on. All right. Next, we have ensure client support expectation are covered. So if you are carrying out a particular job for a client, there is certain expectation that the client expect. But if you are providing the client with internet, let's say, let's look at this. Let's look at Flow. You would go to Flow and you want internet connection, don't it? And I am certain that every time you want to use the internet, you are expecting that internet is up and running, and it is basically giving you sufficient speed based on what um, Flow would have said to you. Guess what? I am providing you with this amount of download speed and upload speed. So you expect that there should be some level of consistency as it relates to Flow giving that. So that would be your expectation. All right. So that's why they're saying um, they expect you to provide, you that is working for them, you expect them to you provide what? Connectivity, hardware and software support. So therefore, if you're installing hardware, or you're installing software, your expectation that you're going to provide some level of support to them as it relates to the hardware as well as to the software. And we did make mention yesterday that when you install a piece of hardware or software, don't just install it and say, okay, there it is. It is your responsibility to check or test the hardware or software that it is functioning like it is supposed to, right? And just if there is a need for some level of training as it relates to, or consultation as it relates to those hardware and software, um, it's an expectation that you supposed to be able to provide that, or have somebody that is able to provide that as well. So is that clear so far?
Yes, sir.
All right, and next we have general information and technology recommendations. So you can make general recommendations to the client as well. Um, Web accessibility information, all of those must be provided to the client in form of supporting the client expectation. Ensure all of those are covered. All right. A next thing that is linked to it as well is what we call warranty. Warranty. What is that all about?
A guarantee given to a customer that whatever they purchase will work accordingly, and that if anything should happen, the seller is responsible to repair or replace any damage, or repair or replace any parts over a period of time
Okay.
without
Yes.
any cost to the buyer.
Yes, so that is what a warranty is all about. As you mentioned, it's a guarantee given to a customer when you purchase like a product, uh, as it relates to the product reliability, and if there should be any fault that happened to the product that is not done by the client or the customer within a particular time, they could either repair or replace the product. And we can think about Courts and Singer. They deal with that all the way. Once you purchase like a product from them, they will deal with that in terms of that way. All right. All right. Next, we look at obtain and connect required hardware peripherals. All right. So this is basically the various ways in which you can basically connect. When you obtain or when you get your hardware, your peripheral, you basically making necessary connection to the system unit to ensure that it works properly. That is what they're talking about. They talk about to obtain the required peripheral, getting them, purchasing them based on what your client need, because you'd have gathered all that information from your interview with your client. So after you do all of that and you pass all that with your supervisor, the next process is basically to obtain the required peripherals. And after you obtain them, of course, you will go through the phase of basically connecting, go through the phase of connecting connecting the hardware peripherals, which are whether they are physically plugged in or they are wirelessly connected. So you will basically go about the connection phase. And we did speak and we did look at this yesterday, operating system. And it is an operating system. By the way, before going any further, operating system, is it a system software or an application software?
System software.
System software. Good, that's very good. And we see operating system software used to manage and control the operation of the hardware. So that's why they say whenever you turn on the computer, boot up the computer, it goes through several self-check. So it is operating system is a part of that, where it's basically checking if all devices or peripheral that are connected to the system unit, they check that everything is functioning properly with them. Because if it's a case where a mouse is not being picked up or a keyboard or something, therefore it could not carry out its duty as it relates to working with the operating system. And now there are various functions of the operating system. The operating system manages the hardware and software resources of the system, and it also provide a stable, consistent way for application to deal with the hardware without having to know all the details of the hardware. So therefore, the operating system basically is like a bridge between the hardware devices and the various applications that you would use your hardware to do. So take for example, you are typing a letter, you'll be using which hardware devices? You're using the mouse and the keyboard, but at the same time, you are using Microsoft Word, which is an application software. So, what enables you when you type something and you're pressing on the keyboard for it to appear on your screen in Microsoft Word is the operating system creating that bridge of communication between the hardware itself and the application software. Now we have common operating system. What are some operating systems that you know of the car?
Currently, you have Windows 10, you have Mac OS, Android, Linux. I'm not
Yes,
sure if
yeah, man. Those are the most popular operating systems. Some of what you are seeing here, they are all examples of operating system. However, these are a bit outdated. When we talk about Windows 2000, Windows XP, those
that,
version actually stopped use few years back.
yeah, they got extinct.
Yes. If you realize that if Windows 7 is not here and Windows 7 stopped use for quite a while now. All right. So now you also what? Verify time frame for installation schedule. So after you come, so after you are basically get in all information from your client and you going to get the various devices and you're going to install them, you're not only going to get information and go away. You're going to say to your client, okay, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will come back and we will basically install your various devices and so on. All right. So you need to give your client a time frame as to when you will come back, when the expectation for the job to be completed. All right. We also see disconnect and replace connected peripherals, because if it's the case that they already have existing peripherals being using, but they're going to use a more upgraded one, you would have to disconnect those and ensure that the necessary connectors are in place, because you don't want to buy a USB mouse when the system unit does not support USB connection. I don't remember back in the days we have those round plug-in thing and the connectors and the computer system. Those basically stopped use a couple years back. Now, what is being used is your USB connectors, or what we refer to as port. And here's an example of some as well. We say a connector are often called ports, and these here are various types of ports. A port, a port is a logical channel or channel endpoint in a communication system. And the various types, or the three types of connectors that we may deal with, is your serial, your parallel, and your USB, which stands for Universal Serial Bus. And if you observe here carefully, you will see where they are labeled. This is your parallel. If you look at the back of your PC, you should able to identify them. And these are your serial, and these are your USB. And what I mentioned earlier in terms of back some ports being used back in the day, you have your PS2 port right here, one for your mouse and one for your keyboard. But these are are not being used any at all right now. They have been replaced by your USB ports. So that's why I'm
Sir,
saying,
sir,
yeah,
even the serial ports, I know them as the VGA ports, and even they are going
exactly,
extinct. They
exactly,
have been
exactly.
replaced with HDMI.
HDMI, good. So and you see that's why I am saying you have to check to see what exists before you go ahead and purchase a particular or get a particular peripheral. You understand? Because what's the case that the person have computers already, but the computer does not support USB connector. They use the PS2. You know what I'm saying? So you would have end up in some kind of trouble when you purchase USB connect peripheral, but when you go back, you're realizing that the system does not support it. All right, so you have to pay attention to that as well. All right, and I did mention Bluetooth as a form of connection before other connectors. We talk about your Bluetooth, and we did mention serial and peripheral ports just now. And I guess Zoom will break in a few seconds. All right, so just in case it breaks, don't be surprised by it. But in general, we would have covered all as it relates to hardware and basically connection, because what this unit is all about generally is having an understanding of the various peripheral devices or hardware devices that is normally connected to the computer, and how to connect them, and basically knowing how to deal with your customer, gather information from your customer as it relates to what are their hardware requirement need, and basically giving them options that could make their establishment or their need or their business purpose more effective, and not only doing that, giving them a time frame in which you will basically come in, and when you basically do the necessary connection or disconnection of the various devices there. And very important as well, you must also plan to support your customer needs, our expectations, not only go in and fix and give them software and give them hardware and all of those stuff and forget about it. Okay, well, my job is done, and you collect your pay and you leave. What if it's a case that the new devices that you're providing them with, or peripherals that you're providing them with, they are not familiar with it? You knowing and they knowing that there are devices that can carry out duties effectively, but they are new to them. So it will fall in your level of responsibility as it relates to your client support, giving your client support as to the various use of those equipment. All right. So that is the end of this unit. And again, let me just bring it to the top, because this unit we looked at connect hardware peripherals, and I just give you an overview of the various elements that we would have completed as it relates to this unit. All right. So on Schoology, there are some practice questions as it relates to this unit that is a requirement for you to complete and post for me to look at them to see or to check your full understanding of what was done in this lesson.